assistant and office manager, Lee Hunter, who has been my executive assistant, and she's just about to depart for a new job at Canada's Juno Beach Interpretive Center in France, which will be an exciting time for her, I'm sure. Taeyeon Kim, my formidable constituency coordinator, who does a remarkable job working with me in the constituency. And of course,
she sure does. Lots of patience too.
But worked for a good number of years here as my chief of staff. I also want to mention and thank all of the student interns who've done such hard work for me in the office here to help me be well prepared for work in the Legislative Assembly. I want to say a special thank you to the member of St. John Lancaster, whose desk was next to mine for much of the session, for her help, in particular when I arrived as a rookie MLA, to help me learn the finer points of parliamentary procedure and practice. She was always so helpful and supportive in that way as I got my legs under me in the beginning of this 58th legislature. So
he didn't do a bad job. I think they should elect more members of the Green Party.
Mr. Speaker, all of the people of Fredericton South, Mr. Speaker, whether they can vote or not. So that includes the youth and the newcomers, which is an increasing part of the population of Fredericton South, and we're making an important contribution to the vibrancy and the economic development of our community. I want to recognize, of course, the constituents who have chosen to serve over time on my youth and senior roundtables so that I could do the best possible job on behalf of youth and seniors in this legislative assembly.
I try to make him lose his temper.
As well as to all of those constituents
about
who have come to me or attended community meetings and raised their concerns, their issues, sought help, proposed actions, or raised concerns that they wanted me to pursue in this legislature, which helped guide the matters that I brought before this legislative assembly, the questions I asked, the question period, and some of the proposed bills or bills that I brought forward. Mon personnel et moi avons mis au point
à Radio-Canada. Oh my God, I hate this translator.
Good system to
he can speak French, but Radio-Canada said the last election.
To have access to
you don't speak proper French.
Mr. Speaker,
what's going to happen this
16 bills to advance the public interest in everything from economic development to government transparency. Some of these bills, I dare say, seems to have encouraged the government to introduce their own comparable legislation, and others have strengthened public policies
so what's going to happen
that they were developing.
My bill
to amend the Education Act to ensure that all public school students learn about the history of the historical and contemporary relationship with First Nations in New Brunswick and
not
about
only
our
a one-issue party.
That now
very patient.
It was unanimously passed, Mr. Speaker, and is having real results in terms of influencing the curriculum in our public education system. And I appreciate all of the members' efforts to ensure that this bill got passed, because of course it implemented one of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, and will ensure our youth can help play a positive role on the road to reconciliation. So I think that's something in this legislature we can all be very proud of. Ça fait plaisir de voir.
Oh, come on.
It is a pleasure to see
Why do
the
we have
Department of Agriculture working hard to promote local food and to have them in school cafeteria. Even though my bill on local food...
The only reason I'm listening to this is he's making this final speech. The legislature is going to shut down. And then there'll be Blaine Higgs, which I'm not going to take. And then there'll be Brian Gallant, I'm not going to take. But I think this is history.
Was defeated last year in the end. And we ended up in the same place, Mr. Speaker, with all three parties
David Coon did prove
institute
himself.
those changes. Again, I think a good example of cooperation, maybe through a circuitous route in this legislature, which I know all New Brunswickers want to see more of in the next legislative assembly. While I worked diligently in committee to improve many of the hundreds of government bills we examined by proposing substantive amendments, the political culture of the executive branch has not yet quite evolved to the point, for the most part, where we still have the government.
I know, you're not.
Rejecting amendments.
I'm just taping.
Out of hand, with a few exceptions, such as when the Minister of Finance accepted my efforts to ensure that Cannabis MB will be directly accountable to this legislature. Again, a nice example of collaboration. Members in this House routinely refer to our provincial parliament as the People's House. But there remains work to be done, Mr. Speaker, in this House to ensure in the next legislature that, in fact, the people of the province can be more engaged in the work of this House at the committee stage. I think democracy would be well served by ensuring the public can appear before our standing committees, as is common in most other parliaments in Canada and throughout the Commonwealth, and that takes a mandate to be given by the Legislative Assembly, and hopefully we'll see that come from the next legislature here in New Brunswick. I am pleased that my efforts to ensure that our rules describe the roles, responsibilities, and code of conduct for MLAs, which I first introduced back in February of 2016, became a reality this week again with the unanimous support of this House. And I'm sure other MLAs and members have experienced this as well, that the idea that we have instituted and collaborated on putting in place a code of conduct for MLAs in this Legislative Assembly has been met with positive responses from constituents.
You did a good job.
And I know that's in my writing. And
Next election, I think, is going to be
their constituents as
bilingualism,
People see this as a positive step,
changes. I mean,
and
I would
one
love
that
to
is
see
only going to enhance the work of
the legislature full of
Legislative Assembly in the future. I want to
Green
recognize
parties
the efforts of all
and
of our
people
legislative
like
officers, Mr. Speaker.
just to rattle the government, rattle the bureaucrats.
On our behalf, as the Legislative Assembly, as members, and on behalf of the people of this New Brunswick, of this province. However, Mr. Speaker, we still have work to do to ensure we can most effectively take advantage of their recommendations for change within their areas of expertise and the mandates they've been given. The Auditor General made a heroic effort to provide professional development opportunities for the Public Accounts Committee, which I can attest, and I think my colleagues on the committee would say was a very valuable experience, a tremendous initiative. We learned a lot. But, Mr. Speaker, the collective efforts of the committee members, unfortunately, ran up against, again, the sort of unproductive level of I would say, party discipline that extends and reaches down into the committee work of this Legislative Assembly, something that can be worked on by the next legislature here in New Brunswick. This was not the case, however, when it came to taking politics out of determining who was to receive funding to hire summer students. As a first-time MLA, I was surprised that this archaic process existed and was very public about my concerns, and I was very pleased when the Premier and Cabinet decided to take the politics out of summer job funding in this province. And I don't know about them, but I've had parents come to me and thank me for raising this as an issue, and so I want to recognize the Premier and Cabinets and caucuses.
Who would not vote for a guy like that? There's nothing phony about it. Speaking French again. Nothing wrong with this French.
Government is a problem when it comes to federal and provincial agreements for national programs or for the management of private homes. And I am waiting for the decision of the court.
It's almost done.
To get the details about public funding of private homes.
In us to work on their behalf as parliamentarians, to make good laws, to ensure financial accountability, and to provide effective parliamentary oversight to the actions of the Premier and Cabinet, which of course is the role of this Legislative Assembly. We can and do so, but we can do much, much better. Mr. Speaker, we also have, I believe, a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that we work to honor the treaty relationship we have with First Nations as an assembly of elected representatives. That must become one of the preoccupations of the
That's his
next
final speech.
legislature, to pursue reconciliation in earnest, to create the conditions for us to work together with
I hope
First
it's
Nations
not.
in this province to build a society that is both sustainable and works for all of us. It is a time, Mr. Speaker, of rapid climate change and also of slow economic growth. Two major challenges that we're going to have to come to grips with in this province, and that's going to be an important challenge for the next Legislative Assembly and for society as a whole, because as a society we will have to change to diminish our reliance on burning gasoline, diesel, oil, natural gas, and coal. And as a Legislative Assembly and as whichever party forms government, pursue different and new paths to prosperity in the face of the structural changes to the economy. I know New Brunswickers are up to the task. The energy transition and the new economic development opportunities present many opportunities to help families flourish in thriving communities and bring about prosperity in those areas. But to successfully navigate this will require, of course, foresight and vision, and I certainly expect that we will see that in the next Legislative Assembly. En terminant, je tiens à souligner la contribution des députés de l'Assemblée législative.
And to finish, I would like to thank all the members who decided not to reoffer. You offered your services to New Brunswickers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci beaucoup.
Members, we missed messages of congratulations. I'm going to recognize the leader of the third party.
So what's wrong with that guy?
Mr. Speaker.
So what's wrong with him?
With respect to congratulations, Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate the Wolastoqiyik or Maliseet grandmothers and mothers who have been camped out through the winter in the area of forest and headwaters of the Nashwauk River, which is slated to see an open pit mine and massive tilling ponds established there. Members of the Cabinet regularly acknowledge at public events in the Franklin area anyways that we are on the unceded territory of the Wolastoq First Nation. The grandmothers and mothers are reminding us of this every day that they spend on site as they serve as defenders of the land. I invite all members to join me in congratulating the grandmothers and mothers of the Wolastoqiyik First Nation for their dedication, for their courage, and their service protecting the land that sustains us all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Recognize the Minister of Seniors and Long-Term Care.
It didn't get a standing ovation. That's for them.
I rise today to wish happy 78th
So
birthday
anyway,
tomorrow to my father-in-law, William Patrick Harris. I'm so fortunate to have been blessed with a wonderful father-in-law and mother-in-law, and I'd like to offer them an
the bottom
old
line is
Irish
David
blessing.
Coon
May love and laughter
should be
light your
reelected.
days and
Prove
warm
it
your
himself.
heart and
Okay, enough of that.
May good and